All right, Michael Caldwell. If Cobb is cut, would he fit in Dallas' offense, especially if Beasley's? Well, actually, Randall Cobb is a free agent too, so he could be a signee. I think Cobb would rather stay in Green Bay, but I do think he'd be a fit. But in the end, for guys like Randall Cobb, Adam Humphries, and Cole Beasley, and all the good slot receivers, they all kind of fit the same issue for the Cowboys. I think they're going to be a little bit too expensive for Dallas when you can draft somebody who's going to be far cheaper, especially if Dallas doesn't want to use the slot receiver as much as they have, let's say, in 2016. Back with fishing with digging, Is there one player out there you could see could elevate us to the Super Bowl level, kind of like when the Cowboys signed Charles Haley? I mean, the closest thing is probably like Earl Thomas or Landon Collins, but I don't know if the Cowboys are like one player away from being a Super Bowl contender. I don't think that they are. I think, or being a true Super Bowl level, like the favorite, I should say. Let's put it that way, the Super Bowl favorite, like when they had Charles Haley, who, by the way, once punched me and producer Brett Scott in the kidney. He punched Brett a lot harder. But I don't think they're one true guy away from being the number one team in the NFL, but you should still go try and sign Earl Thomas if he's cost effective. Back to Kyle Clements on Facebook. Do you think Devin Smith makes the roster next year? Good question. I don't know. He's got to be healthy, you know. He's always had talent. He can fly. He's a burner. I just don't know if he's actually going to make it. I think what you could see is Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson, I guess maybe Lance Lenoir, but probably less so Lance Lenoir. Those guys might be competing for the 5th or 6th roster spot at wide receiver, especially if Tavon Austin is not brought back. David Gonzales. Best defensive tackle in the draft for the top 2 by far are Quinnen Williams out of Alabama and Ed Oliver from Houston, but those guys aren't going to fall to the Dallas Cowboys. Instead, focus on names like Charles Omenihu out of Texas, who can play some DE and DT. A Gerald Willis out of Miami, Florida. Those guys make some sense there. Or later on, but a Dalen Mack from Texas A&M, who fits the Cowboys' MO as a one technique. Forever DC. Cowboys scat back, extremely fast and elusive, can line up outside. He throws out Trayvon Williams of A&M, which producer Dom loved, by the way, she's celebrating off screen, and Devin Singletary. I like both those names. I'll throw in a guy like Darrell Henderson out of Memphis too. Wait, is my end goal there is just be patient. We just mentioned 3 different guys. I would bet one of them falls to your 4th round pick. I don't know which one. I'd bet more on Williams, but there will be scat backs like the kid from North Dakota State, Bruce Anderson. So wait on a running back. That's my MO. I think the Cowboys subscribe to a similar mindset in terms of backup to Zeke Elliott. Season 5. What are the chances the Cowboys draft a safety, pick up Juan Thornhill, and pick up a DT in free agency instead of signing an Atlanta Collins or Earl Thomas? So if they go DT, I think it'd be someone like Gerald McCoy. I think they'd be more likely to draft a DT because your big concern really is that next year, Malik Collins is a free agent. Antoine is going to be an RFA, and Crawford will be aging in the last year of his deal. So you're looking ahead a little bit here more for the under tackle, nose guard type. Looking ahead, you want a young guy. So I would say that it's more likely that they maybe sign a cheap defensive tackle beyond a Gerald McCoy, a cheap guy. And I wouldn't mind Juan Thornhill. The issue is overall, I don't necessarily love this safety class, and I figure that most of the good impact guys are going to be off the board before the Cowboys pick in round 2. So to answer your question shortly, maybe it's kind of a toss-up. I think they'd be more inclined to draft a DT early than pick one up in free agency. All right, back to D-True1 DC for life. Can the O-line get back to the 2016 form? Yes, but that 2016 offensive line, I kind of feel like set up unrealistic expectations for the Dallas Cowboys. Ron Leary's gone, Doug Free's gone, and their replacements haven't played as well. They don't need to be 2016 good, but give me a top 5 line. That unit, I think you can see on the field next year, assuming Collins improves his strength, or Connor Williams improves his strength, Leo Collins continues to grow, and you get Travis Frederick back and healthy, and your 2 stars, Smith and Martin, stay healthy. This guy, Nick. Hakeem Butler, if he falls to the 2nd round, Dallas should pick him up. He's an outside guy, but that would mean more slot snaps for Gallup Cooper, so I'm fine with it. I am intrigued by Hakeem Butler. I'm very curious how he runs. If he runs really well, he's probably one of the first 5 receivers off the board and doesn't fall to the Cowboys in the late 2nd round. There are some hands concerns. He's more of a strider than he is a quick twitch kind of guy, but I like him. Here's the thing for Butler and a lot of other receivers. I expect a run around, let's throw it out, late teens in the first round for a full round after that. I think you're going to see a big run on wide receivers. The Cowboys will be left picking amongst the scraps there and amongst the other guys who are all also, I think, very good. Ultra Madden, where would you put Romo all time among Dallas quarterbacks? Well, it's Aikman, Staubach, you can argue about the order, 1, 2, and then Tony for me. I'm sorry, Danny White. Romo's the number 3 for me among Cowboys quarterbacks. Andy Perales, best draft prospects that might be available towards the end of round 2. I kind of hate that the Cowboys don't have a first round pick because it gets a lot more complicated. Like, you get to the end of round 2, you're looking at guys that could slide a bit from mid to early round 2 guys, your normal late end of round 2 guys, and even some early third round picks that make sense. So the pool of prospects really expands and it becomes tough to narrow there. So I'm looking at, I would love Charles Omenihu, the DT from Texas. I wouldn't mind Gerald Willis. I'd love Deebo Samuel, Andy Isabella, some of those types of names there. Tight end, I kind of think you're going to be kind of left out, missing on those top 3 guys, at which point I don't want to spend a round 2 pick. But I'm looking DT. I'd love Nasir Adderley, Taylor Rapp, but I kind of think those guys are off the board as well. So give me one of them slot guys, Andy Isabella or Deebo Samuel. 30 pick, 1966. If we could trade Charlton for a draft pick, what round could we get? Great question. I don't have a great answer for you. I would say if you get a 4th, you should probably be fairly happy with that. Probably a late 4th round pick. The dude's got 4 sacks in 2 years. He's only got a couple years left on his deal. You're probably going to decline his 5th-year option at this rate. You're not going to get much back for a defensive end who hasn't shown he can rush the passer with 4 sacks and also has 2 years left on his deal. So I'd say 4th or a 5th, which, by the way, I would not be surprised if the Cowboys do consider trading away Taco Charlton. Back to D-True1, DC for life again. Thank you for watching, my man. You think it will make an impact on Dak being the new quarterback coach? I certainly think so. I know not everyone likes the Jon Kitna hiring. I approve, though. I like the idea of hiring Jon Kitna. I've always liked Kitna. And in general, backup quarterbacks tend to make better coaches than starting quarterbacks because the starting quarterbacks had more raw, natural talent, and the backups had to get by with smarts and intelligent. Jon Kitna, very smart coach, a very smart player. I think he's going to make a good coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Today's show was brought to you by BetDSI, it's the internet's #1 sportsbook. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code Cowboys120 for a 120% deposit bonus. You put down $50 and they're going to give you $60 for free. $100 gets you $120 extra to bet with on BetDSI. And if you use Bitcoin, that bonus becomes 150%. So you put down $100, you get the extra $30 for $150 in total. DM us on Twitter @chatsports if you're not quite sure about Bitcoin. We'll help explain it to you because we know it can be a little bit confusing there. Kyle Clements, back again. Thanks for watching, my man. And thanks for using #Cowboys, by the way. What is Tank's asking price for his contract extension? It's going to start at about $20 million. I would be stunned if this contract is anything less than 5 years, $100 million. The cap has gone up. The Cowboys should have signed him last year. Now he's going to join a very select few of the $100 million men among defensive players. Jeremy Rowlan. Think we need a big receiver like Rob Gronkowski, someone with some size. I mean, I love Gronk. I don't necessarily disagree, but I think the Dak-friendly offense, which maybe we actually see this year, is more friendly, less with a jump ball type guy, and more with the quick shifty receivers who get open, like Cole Beasley, like Amari Cooper, and like Michael Gallup. Rod Madewell, or is it Madewell? Let me know. Sorry if I got it wrong for you. What's the chance we re-sign Cole? I don't think it's that high. I'm not ruling it out yet by any means. I would just be rather surprised if he's brought back. I think he'll get more money elsewhere in free agency. Michael Caldwell, any low-key depth-filling free agents you could see Dallas targeting? I think they'll look more towards the defensive side of the ball. Maybe you look towards a safety. I don't have many names in mind right now. He's not really a low-key depth-filling, but I'll continue to pound the table for Kenny Vaccaro, who I absolutely love. Maybe you find a linebacker, a former high-round pick. Here's one for you. I got one. Stephon Anthony, former first-round pick out of Clemson, has been a bust in the NFL, kind of fits the Cowboys' MO, could be a strong side linebacker. He's not that good, Maybe he comes cheap enough to replace Damian Wilson if that ends up going down. So that is an off-the-cuff guess. Don't quote me on it too much. Shadow Snow. Is Kellen Moore experienced enough to be OC, or is it too early? I mean, if you want someone with experience, then the answer is no. I will make note of this with Kellen Moore. He's always had an extremely high football IQ. And as weird as it sounds, being mentored by Scott Linehan is actually not the worst thing in the world. Linehan's also very smart. I mean, this is a dude that back in college, he was at Louisville, he helped show Urban Meyer the spread offense. Like, that's way, way back, obviously. And Linehan did not advance with the times, and that was his big flaw and didn't adjust enough. But there are worse coaches to learn from. So it is very much a risk with Kellen Moore. I lean more towards it being too early, but he does have the high football IQ. Maybe he can be a passing game coordinator / non-play calling OC, and that's the logical next step. Dak Attack, what do you think about the recent proposal of some owners to review pass interference? It gets a little close to Pandora's box to me. That's my concern. I don't want to have reviews every 5 minutes on a questionable pass interference call. Maybe you can install some kind of like emergency procedure for the Saints-Rams game, or just get the damn call right the first time, refs. Shouldn't be that difficult. All right, 1 or 2 more left. Forever DC. Since Jarwin and Schultz are still babies, would you draft a tight end or try to get a veteran? How much does your veteran cost? That's my main question there. If they're cheap, sure, I'll bring them in. All right, maybe 2 more. D-True1 DC for Life back again. Will Kris Richard get the official DC title? I kind of think so. I think he'll have the official DC title and end up being a very good player there. All right, 1 more question here, maybe 2. Brian Campbell, tough schedule next season. What's the record going to be? Come back to me after I see the free agency and the offseason moves. I just want to see how things develop there. I will lean around what we saw this year. And then 1 last question, Film Productions. Should we trade Joe Looney? I say no. Keep him for 1 more year. Let him be your backup depth. You can very much use it, that type of player. Plus, Switzer had issues with Scott Linehan. So, there you go. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.